Okay, so kia ora. Thank you all very much for joining us on this kind of sunny day for some of you, cold evening for some of us too. So kind of this morning, we are talking about kind of the neuroscience of gratitude. And we are really, really excited to share our thoughts and findings and obviously kind of our book with you. I am Sarah Carruthers, for those of you who don't know me, and Suzanne Haywood. Suzanne Henwood is the other person that you can see. I'm trying to multitask and get my screen up at the same time, which is why, yeah, kind of it's not always kind of that easy. But yeah, we are neurocoaches, we are trainers, we are wives, we are mums, we are friends, we are business partners, so much more. And together we co-founded the Luminosity Project, which inspires, empowers and supports people to bring the best of who they are to everything they do, just really helping people on that journey to radical wholeness, whatever that means to each and every individual.
Awesome. So to get us going tonight, tonight, depending which side of the world you're on, a few questions. Have you ever wondered why in a day where everything went really, really well, apart from one thing, that at the end of the day, that's the only thing you remember? Or have you found yourself ruminating and going over and over and over something that might have happened weeks ago or even a year ago, and you just can't seem to let it go? Or maybe you've met someone who, you know, whatever life throws at them, they just seem to be able to manage. And they're real and they're authentic. They're not pretending it's not happening, but they find a way just to move through it and they take it all in their stride. And number 4, and be honest with this one, have you ever wondered whether gratitude practice is really worth doing?
So for those of you who have wondered that, we are going to share with you the latest research on gratitude that takes the idea of just making a kind of a list of 3 good things in your life to the next level. And it's an approach that will help rewire your brain to be healthier and happier, to kind of rewire it for the positive, for the good. We will share why gratitude means so much to us both. We will give you an experience of the ultimate gratitude practice, which is based on the latest neuroscience. And we will also give you some definitions and, and kind of understanding around what is gratitude. And I might just start with that gratitude, just so we have a kind of similar understanding, is an active affirmation of goodness and recognizing that the sources of this goodness are outside of ourselves. Is kind of the real key to amplifying its impact. So that was Robert Emmons' definition, which we think is one of the best. So let's just begin today by each of us writing into the chat something that you feel grateful for. So something that you feel that is good that has happened to you today or yesterday, or that is in your life that you really, really appreciate.
And just pick up a few of those. Grateful for my wife, family, my son, family, some commonality coming through, sea swimming, meeting good friends, good range of different things. And you can see how they don't have to be rocket science. It can be everyday things.
Definitely. So as you keep handing those or kind of writing those in, the other thing we'd like you to do is just to notice on a scale of 1 to 10 how grateful you feel for that thing. So where 0 or kind of 1 is not at all grateful, not really bothered, and 10 is extremely, truly grateful, kind of real, kind of heartfelt gratefulness. And just either pop that number in the chat or just make a note of it somewhere in terms of where you sit on that scale.
Beautiful. And we'll come back to that. So just have that ready to look at again at the end of the webinar. Now, we're sure that you're aware that our brains have a built-in negativity bias. We're not designed for happiness necessarily. We're designed for survival. And that influences how we feel, how we think, how we act, the stories we tell ourselves. And it's why most of us can recall and think of those insults rather than the compliments that we get, or criticism rather than praise. And why we're more attentive to that negative news coverage and thinking about negative events more. It's normal. It's how we're wired. But by focusing on what's wrong and keeping us safe, it can lead us to feeling more stressed, worried, anxious, fearful, sad, whichever word it is that you tend to go to when you've been knocked out of that place. Even though there's lots of positive things going on in our lives, everyday things, it's like they kind of just don't even get airtime. We don't even focus on them. We don't notice them. It's been said that the brain is like Velcro for negative and Teflon for positive. Now, the good news, and why we're here, I guess, is that we know we can interrupt that negativity bias. Just like training muscles and going to the gym, we can literally create new pathways in our brain through something called neuroplasticity. So by noticing our negativity bias and consciously taking in the good on a daily basis, we can literally rewire our brains. That's pretty phenomenal. But how do we start? Where do we start? And the daily practice we're going to share with you is a simple and effective way of doing this. In fact, research has now shown it's the most effective way of twisting that negativity bias to become more positive.
Tilting it towards the good. So just back to this definition. So here we've got Robert Evans' definition around gratitude is the result of affirming goodness in your life and recognizing that the sources of this goodness lie at least partially outside of you. It's also what's known as a pro-social behavior, which means it allows us to be more effective in our interactions, both with ourselves and with others. And that's why it is so effective in terms of shifting a lot of these kind of really kind of key metrics. So people who journal and who've journaled for a couple of weeks by writing down kind of 3, 4, 5 good things that they're grateful for are 25% happier if they journal than those of us who don't. They sleep half an hour more each night, and they exercise 33% more each week, which is, pretty phenomenal. So research shows experiencing gratitude leads to things like increased feelings of connectedness, improved relationships, energy, altruism, productivity, resilience, as well as fewer symptoms of illness, including depression and anxiety. So it's a pretty impressive list of benefits, and it doesn't really matter whose research you look at. The majority of them have very, very similar results in terms of those sorts of benefits. Some have more than others, depending on what they have measured and depending on the audience.
So gives you a little bit of a flavor of why we're excited about it. But before we go into the process in too much more detail, we want to share with you on a personal level why gratitude is so important to us. We both have our own stories we wanted to share with you. So in July 2016, I was a senior academic, and on the way home from a conference trip away, as I was getting out of the airport, I got a call from a neighbor to say, I don't know where you are, I don't know where your family are, but there are flames coming out of your house. And I was so kind of shocked in that moment, I didn't even think to say, have you called the fire brigade? So I just got home as quickly as I could, and physically, long story short, our family was fine, but we lost almost everything that we owned. Inspired by a lady who had been terminally diagnosed with cancer and was running what she called a 1,000 days of grace, I started what I called a Phoenix gratitude diary. Phoenix linked to the fire, and it was a way of keeping people informed of what was going on at one level, because I had friends and family all around the world, but it also made me focus on the positive, to find things I was grateful for in the midst of what was quite a difficult situation. And I kept that regular practice going for a year until we moved back into the house, when I put up a post to say the Phoenix has flown, and I could let that practice go linked to the fire. For me, it was a great convincer on top of the science that I knew back then of how gratitude can really help you bounce back and deal with adversity in a way, to be honest, I wouldn't have even believed possible if I hadn't done it for myself and experienced it.
So my story is, kind of gratitude has been really, really important for me as a coach, as a trainer, as a spiritual director, that I have used to teach and kind of work with clients on. But I suppose for me, it really got tested back in May 21. So what's that, 15 months ago. My husband, Rob, was diagnosed with lung cancer. He found a 8-centimetre tumour in his top right lung. And a few months later, it spread to his brain and his back. We have now completed 35 days of radiotherapy, 4 rounds of chemotherapy, 2 brain surgeries, targeted therapy, and assortment of other treatments for kind of multiple infections that come as a result of taking the drugs that you need to help get you through cancer. Throughout these trials, we have continually had to readjust and find a new normal as a family, to be really flexible, to do less, and to find something positive even in the worst of days. And that meant being grateful for small things, for little things, for small victories, for flat whites, for sharing moments together, for real conversations, for humour, often very dark humour, and appreciating the time that we do have left together. So that kind of active daily practice of gratitude as a family alongside our faith has really helped bring hope and the ability to cope with our situation. And it is continuing. We've just had a terminal diagnosis for my husband. So it is an ongoing process, and kind of genuinely every night, this is what me and my family do that kind of just really, really supports us. It's pretty important for us that you understand that what we're not suggesting is that you try and ignore or deny suffering, pain, or negativity. We aren't some kind of super women or kind of super family who are kind of doing that. So this isn't a superficial form of toxic positivity. It's an attitude and a process that can be chosen in spite of circumstances. It's one that will energize you and heal you. And we can both talk from personal experience on that. It's one that can bring hope in the face of brokenness. And choosing to be grateful, even when life is hard, helps us provide perspective as we view life as a whole versus being overwhelmed by temporary circumstances. And sometimes it's easy for people to go, well, I'm kind of stuck in this at the moment. How do I deal with it? And it's not until after the event that they can kind of look back and see, oh, this is how much I've grown, and this is how much I learned from the experience, from the difficulty, from the suffering. I guess what we're saying is that actually, if you can have that attitude whilst that challenge is going on, it makes it a whole lot easier and hopeful and enjoyable is the wrong word, but kind of something that is much more around developing resilience and developing kind of a positive bent, even though, in our case, we're facing a terminal diagnosis. Still feel positive, still enjoying kind of times together and focusing on, the beauty of what time we do have.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Sarah. So how do we then suggest using gratitude in practice? What have we been developing over the last couple of years or so, bringing together all that work? And interestingly, the very latest research shows that a gratitude practice can be even more powerful. We know it works for the 3 things a day, but it can be even more powerful when you introduce a meaningful story as part of the process. This is where you associate with and experience empathy and compassion for someone who received help, whether that's you that gave help to someone else or someone you've heard about, or it was given to you by someone you were connected with. It works on any level. An example of this might be this image. I don't know whether you saw it, was linked to the Ukraine war. Just imagine for a moment, you're one of those mums with young kids and you're having to leave your home. Leave everything behind you. You can take one small bag, basically, that you can carry. You've picked your child up or children into your arms and you're fleeing on a train to who really knows where or what you will find at the other end. And as you get off the train on the platform in Poland, you see these buggies as a gift at the station waiting for you. Now, I don't know the full story behind it. I'd love to imagine that they had nappies and bottles, maybe a cuddly toy and a blanket in there as well. But just genuinely and emotionally associating with the story, feeling how you would feel if that was you, activates these pro-social circuits in our brains. And that enables more effective interactions, both with ourselves and with others. So it kind of becomes, over time, our default way of thinking. And that literally changes the wiring of the neural pathways from that old negativity into positive and feeling the good. Now, we thought, wouldn't it be good if all this integrated process was written up in one place in a guided journal? Well, we couldn't find it. And so, being us, we thought we'll go and write it and bring it together for others. So that's where the Ultimate Gratitude Journal came from, our own kind of desire to have the process in one place for us, and then us to gift it out to the community to say, hey, look, we found this works for us. We hope it does for you too. So there's 3 parts in the practice, which is a little different from just writing 3 things at the end of the day. And it starts with basically stimulating the autonomic nervous system into a beautiful sense of calm alertness. And this practice has been shown through positron emission tomography studies that just 5 or 10 minutes of that still breathing every day, combined with gratitude, releases all those feel-good chemicals in your system, the dopamine, the serotonin, and the oxytocin. So it changes your kind of chemical makeup in your body. So number 1 is doing a beautiful breathing practice to settle that autonomic nervous system. The second one is reflecting on a meaningful story, and it's a story that really resonates with you. So it's about feeling into it at a heart level. It's not a head-based story, it's a heartfelt story, and then dropping into your gut to make it part of who you are at an identity level, savoring it, letting it soak in, letting it become part of you, letting the sensations go all the way out to your skin surface and really integrating into who you are, which enables a deeper level of wisdom to emerge. And then the third one is taking your pen, writing out, journaling what you're grateful for, but then from a very embodied way. So they're the 3 components of the journal that we're sharing with you. It's a pretty simple structure to follow. It was designed to be simple so people could do it even in a busy day. And it's to help you establish this positive pattern of thinking, one that's going to tilt your brain away from its natural negativity bias in just 5 minutes a day. So that's what we're planning for. It's 5 minutes a day. There's 100 days to the journal. That was deliberate too. We looked up research around habit formation, and the maximum we found was it can take up to 90 days to create a new habit. So we thought if we go 100, we've definitely covered all bases. And alongside that, we've added in some mindful coloring, some inspirational quotes and weekly challenges just to kind of make each week a little bit different, some bonus tools that we've added in there so that over time you build resilience and you're remaining calm and grateful whatever adversity you're feeling or facing in the everyday. So rather than talk more on the theory and talk through the process, we thought the best possible introduction would be to give you a taster of the possible benefits right now. So we're going to guide you through a process of those 3 parts. So if you haven't got a pen and paper handy, just grab a pen and paper from your nearest flat surface, and we're going to talk you through the process so you can experience it for yourself.
So while you are grabbing a pen and paper, I just want to check in and see if there is any questions so far, just while we kind of take a breather before we go experiential. Yeah, if there's anyone who's got any burning desire to ask something, is confused about something,
or curious about something.
Yes, absolutely. You don't, because we're a small group.
Alex, go for it.
Well, I'd just like to say that I've done some non-scientific exploratory work on the whole gratitude, journaling, with breathing, and priming in a AM and in the PM prior to lockdown, and it was astonishing. It was an astonishing transformation, and so I'm now wanting to get back to that practice. So this was the prompt. Awesome,
thanks for that. Yeah, the word astonishing, kind of, I'm putting words in your mouth now, but like surprise, it's astonishing as in you weren't expecting it to be as good as it was. And I think that's what both Sarah and I felt too, that when we did this under quite, horrendous circumstances, it's like, whoa, this stuff really works.
Yeah. Anyone else want to ask something? Yeah, go, Marisha.
Hi, Sarah, Suzanne.
Hi.
I'd like to know the wording for the practice that I had. I've been diagnosed with premature ovarian failure, and then I've realized that without the husband's support, it's not going to work, and I decided that I would like to divorce. And then, as me witnessing pregnant ladies, I started saying lots of prayers and wishing all of the best, that they will find all the happiness, support, and everything else. And I kept on doing that every time the idea or the vision are stimulated in such an event. And it has been more than 12 years. I get a smile on my face and I feel so light in my heart. It's not a gratitude. Do you know what it is?
Without kind of talking in more depth, we can't say for sure what it is. But I would imagine that that positivity, the shift to positivity, you're doing it in a slightly different way. Alex just put a great point in there. Prayer is gratitude. And certainly if you're saying prayers and, you know, you may not be using the word thank you for, but you're praying for the good of those pregnant mums, then you are probably firing up the same pro-social circuits.
Yeah, my words that came up is blessing. That you are sending them a blessing, whether that is a faith-based one or not. That idea, you are giving them a gift from you to them, from your heart to their heart, you know, kind of directly wanting good things for them. And, you know, I'm sorry around your kind of situation, but I just, you know, full respect and kind of, you know, admiration of your ability and your natural resilience to be able to turn that round for the good, for the positive. So, you know, I would see that again, you know, it says we don't, I kind of don't know your situation, but from what you've said, it kind of sounds like you're blessing another. And, you know, similarly, I would imagine that would also be firing up those pro-social circuits. So kind of tipping that balance, because you're not focusing on the, excuse my language, but the oh poor me part and, you know, life is difficult. You're focusing on, actually, I wish these women well, and I wish these families and kind of, you know, their lives, to be glorious.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Lovely to have a couple of real examples of, you know, this has worked over long periods of time.
Okay. Any more, or shall we go into experiential part?
Shall we jump in and then if we've got time, we'll have questions at the end.
Perfect. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so I know some of you on this call are coaches and some of you are not. So I'm going to assume that we're all beginners here. So for those of you who already kind of know about the power of breathing, just kind of let yourself be guided. Just if you have a kind of better way of guiding yourself, you know, feel free to kind of use that. So as we said, the first part of the ultimate gratitude process is to begin with breathing. Now, there are lots of different styles and practices of breathing. You've probably come across many over your life, from ones that you do in yoga to breathing into a paper bag to kind of all sorts. One of the most powerful and relevant here is what's called balanced or coherent breathing. And the reason we're really interested in it for this gratitude practice is it stimulates our autonomic nervous system into a state of calm alertness. So that the autonomic nervous system is the sympathetic, parasympathetic, that kind of helps us regulate our body and our state. So calm alertness helps us be really present, to be here now in the body, in the best state for enabling the most potent gratitude practice, because we can absorb it better. We're kind of stacking the deck in our favor. So what I'd like you to do is just have your feet flat on the floor, back straight as you kind of like a majestic mountain, but not kind of like you've got a rod up your ass. And just firstly becoming aware of your breath. Just noticing if it's in the nostrils, through your mouth, chest, belly. Just noticing where that breathing is to begin with. And if you can, just choosing to breathe through your nostrils rather than through your mouth. And then just noticing the rhythm of your breath. Just noticing the in versus the out. And what we want to do is gently allow our breath to fall into a deep and even rhythm. So one where the out breath and the in breath are the same amount of time. So let's say it's 5 seconds in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5. So whatever number is right for you, it might be 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out, 6 in, 6 out, whatever count feels right for your body. And as we're breathing, the idea is to be able to breathe from our belly. So as we breathe in, our belly expands like a great big balloon. And as we breathe out, the belly contracts like a balloon, kind of losing that air. So just gently enabling that rhythm of breath to just begin to bring you into that state, into that place of calm alertness. In and out breath, same amount of time, easy and even rhythm. I like to think of it a little bit like a kind of sine wave, like it's a beautiful even rhythm, kind of waves of water or breath kind of going through your body. So each day you would begin your gratitude practice with a few minutes of this gentle, balanced breathing to enhance the positive effects of gratitude. And as you continue to breathe fully and evenly, you would then reflect on your chosen meaningful story. So Suzanne mentioned that this meaningful story is something where a struggle happened, where somebody kind of overcame a challenge because somebody helped them. And either you are the person that was giving the help or somebody else helped you. And it doesn't really matter which way round. To make things really easy for us today as a group, what we're going to do is we're going to read a story from our journal to get you into kind of the idea of how this practice works. You don't have to use this in your daily practice. You can develop your own. But we just kind of for ease thought we would read one from here. Okay. So just as you listen to this, continue that breathing and maybe listening with your eyes closed, so you can just really focus in on the story. So this one is called Random Acts of Kindness, and it's on page 25 of the journal. One Friday afternoon, Rachel, a working mum of 2, got a call to say that her husband, Doug, had been taken to hospital following a heart attack. She desperately wanted to be by his side, but her kids needed to be picked up from school as they'd just moved area, and she didn't know who to ask. She decided to take a risk, and she rang a lady she'd recently met at the school gate by the name of Diane, who had welcomed her a few weeks before. Diane dropped everything and immediately went to pick up the kids. Diane reassured the kids, she drove them back to her house, she gave them dinner and a bath, and made up the spare beds so they could stay over. When Rachel arrived at the hospital, she discovered Doug required surgery and would be in hospital for at least a week. People she hardly knew rallied around her, organising school drop-offs, pickups, school lunches, dinners, lifts to hospital, picking up Doug's car from work, cutting her lawn, doing her laundry, etc. All these things enabled Rachel to spend time with Doug in hospital. And once he was home, it supported them as a family. Throughout the 3 months it took Doug to fully recover, Rachel felt comforted, held, and loved. Amazed at how people she hardly knew had helped easing her stress and protecting her children. She didn't know how she could have got through those weeks on her own, and knew that she would never be able to return the favour to so many kind people. So this is the part where you're going to use your pen and paper. We'd like you just to jot down the main points of the story. Just jotting down some notes. It's not a long essay, but just make some notes of what was the struggle? How did other people help? What was the emotional impact of this story on you? And just if you imagine that you are Rachel, how would you feel? What would you be thinking, identifying with? And then perhaps imagining that you were one of the people who helped without expecting anything in return. What do you experience from that perspective, looking out through their eyes?
I'm going to read the story through again. And as I do, just look at your list, and you might want to add specific bits to it. See if you can get some more specificity around the emotions that you feel. We're not great with being specific around emotions, and it's really powerful to name them. So one Friday afternoon, Rachel, a working mum of 2, got a call to say her husband Doug has been taken to hospital following a heart attack. She desperately wanted to be by his side, but her kids needed to be picked up from school. And as they'd only just moved to the area, she didn't know who she could ask. She decided to take a risk, and she rang a lady, Diane, she'd recently met at the school gate, who had welcomed her a few weeks before. Diane dropped everything and immediately went to pick up the kids. She reassured them. She drove them back to her house, gave them dinner and a bath, made up the spare bed so they could stay over. When Rachel arrived at the hospital, she discovered Doug required surgery and would be in hospital for at least a week. People she hardly knew rallied around her, organising school drop-offs and pickups, school lunches, dinners, lifts to hospitals, picking up Doug's car from work, cutting her lawn, laundry. This all enabled Rachel to spend time with Doug in hospital, and once he was home, it supported them as a family. Throughout the 3 months it took Doug to fully recover, Rachel felt comforted, held, and loved. She was amazed at how people had helped, easing her stress and protecting her children. She didn't know how she could have got through all those weeks on her own, and knew that she would never be able to return the favor to so many kind people. I just wonder if there were any other points that you noted on that second run through once you were a little bit more familiar with the story. Notice where you're feeling any emotions in your body.
Okay. So what we've just done is the head, the thinking, logical story part of the process. It's the story that you can think about, you can make meaning from, and even perceive different perspectives, you know, from Rachel's view versus kind of the person that was helping her. What we want to do now is to take this deeper as we continue to breathe fully and evenly from the belly.
Beautiful. So just visualize a movie or an image of that person or the scene from whichever perspective you like. And as if you were going to put subtitles, really identify the key words associated with it. Maybe there are sounds associated with it. And maybe those sounds change as you run through that little video in your mind. And as you do with the picture, the words, and the sounds, just feel into the sensations that arise in your body. Really tune into them. What resonates most with you? What part of the story stands out for you? If I was sat with you on a one-to-one, would you be able now to talk through that story from your video running in your mind?
Yeah. What we're going to do now is bring our attention to the area surrounding your heart. So for me, it works best if I place the palm of my right hand over my heart. You might like to do the same. And just begin to amplify the feelings of gratitude associated with this experience, with this story, with overcoming the struggle. And as you're there looking out through your eyes, as if this story was yours, as if you are Rachel or the person helping, just feel into, what do you desire? What do you desire? And what is important to you here? What is important to you here? And how are you truly connecting? How are you truly connecting? And if there are colours or images or shapes, just want you, as if you've got a kind of one of those volume knobs, be able to, or contrast knobs, make it brighter and more vivid. And if there are sounds, make them louder. And if there is movement, increasing it. If there is texture, magnifying it until it feels just perfectly, blissfully right for you. So just letting the unique characteristics of this beautiful sensation of gratitude just flow out from your heart and just really embracing that experience. Think of it like water soaking into a sponge, or golden syrup sinking down inside your body as you really increase the sensations, the sounds, the colors, everything around this sensation, everything around this image and this story of gratitude.
Beautiful. And as you swallow that down on the inside, and with your next breath, just take your attention right down to the lower part of your abdomen. And again, you might find it useful to place the flat of the palm of your hand there, just to connect with it. And then just pause a moment to answer the question, who is the you that is deeply grateful? Let me say that again. Who is the you that is deeply grateful? Just recognizing deeply that it is part of you. Take a moment to bring that gratitude that you're feeling into that part and deeply savor it. You might feel moved by it. Deeply identify with it. Might even say a statement to yourself like, I am deeply grateful. Can you taste it?
What lessons have you learned from reimagining, overcoming this struggle, empathizing with others? What lessons have you learned? How has it impacted you? Maybe it inspired you to work harder or keep going or try something new. How has it impacted you? And just tuning into what else you have learned about who you are as you reimagine the beauty of the human spirit in this story.
Beautiful. And let that feeling spread and grow right around your whole body. Feeling the sensations expand in a way that's beautifully right for you, and all the way out to your skin surface and maybe even beyond. You might even like to gently stroke your skin in a way that feels delicious. Maybe your arms or the palms of your hands, or even across your face. By doing that, what you're doing is connecting with the feeling of gratitude even more deeply, allowing it to spread through your nervous system as you deeply appreciate and acknowledge all of those feelings throughout your entire body.
And lastly, just moving your attention back to your heart. Maybe placing your hand there once more. And bringing with that hand, bringing with your attention all the awareness that you have perceived in the last few minutes. And as you do this, just truly appreciating what it was you were grateful for in an even deeper way now. And as you do, just ask yourself, what is new and different now?
Mm-hmm.
What is new and different now? Maybe it's a sensation, feeling, an image, an awareness, a new part of you, just noticing what is new and different now.
And if you were to gently ask yourself that same question we asked before, what are you grateful for today? What comes up for you now? It might be different from what came up before. It might have more feeling or detail attached to it. But what are the things you're truly grateful for today? And if you want to, you can write those in the chat box again to see if they have shifted. So we've developed basically a set of 6 specific prompts in the journal that take you through each of the brains or intelligences that we're inviting people to use on a daily basis, and so that they really take the work of gratitude deeper. Now, we haven't got time to go into all of those today. There is a longer workshop coming up, which may or may not be at a time zone appropriate to you. It's 21st of September. And if not, then I hope that you can get hold of the book and start to experience it for yourself. And then do feel free to get in touch with us and share experiences, ask questions. It doesn't have to stop here tonight.
So if you haven't already, just take a moment to journal those things. I feel like we've just taken you out of that kind of nice space. So just take a moment to write down any awarenessings, kind of things that you feel grateful for, relationships, kind of people.
Nature, colours, acts of kindness.
Maybe just writing, if you can, 2 or 3 things. And as you write those, you might like to go back to that scale you had at the beginning, where kind of 1 is not at all grateful and 10 is extremely grateful. And just notice where you are on that scale. Do you need a new scale? Has it expanded? Or what has shifted? How does this list compare to when we began earlier today? What do you notice? What do you notice in your body, in your mind, in your heart, in your gut, in your soul?
Maybe even in the words you're using or the story you're telling yourself about the things that you're now thinking of might all have shifted.
So you might like to share a comment in the chat about what you noticed. Frank's obviously super keen A-star student because he's already begun the process. Thank you, Frank. Yeah, maybe, yeah, kind of just sharing a piece around, you know, what was it like in your body having embodied this meaningful story, or yeah, what did you notice? And we've got time because we're kind of a small group. We can kind of open up the kind of floor if somebody wants to share their experiences in a few sentences. So yeah, is anybody brave enough to do that? And if you're not brave enough, you can just pop it in the chat.
I would like to share what happened when you asked in the beginning of what am I grateful for. I was thinking, what am I grateful for? And I wrote it down. So it was kind of head-based. And then when we went through this whole thing, it was a warmth that was coming through my whole body, and it was an embodied experience, and I could feel it in my heart. I could really experience it, and it was as though my whole body was participating in this gratitude. Yeah, so it was a deeper sense of the gratitude.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
And that was with the story that we just read out from the book. You imagine it will go deeper again when you use your own story, and what that matters, you know, what it means to you, why it matters to you. It will go even deeper.
Yeah. If I can share, morning everyone. Exactly the same as with Christelle, very head-based initially, and then I could so associate with the story, and it gave me an opportunity, this whole process gave me an opportunity to really be grateful for friends in my life, but that gratefulness actually went so much deeper. The time they sacrificed to be there for you, their unconditional love. So the gratefulness just went so much deeper, and it was such a beautiful experience. Thank you. Thank you both.
Pleasure. Pleasure. Thank you, Elsa.
Beautiful.
Anyone else? We've got time for one more. If anybody else wants to be brave enough to share.
Hi Sarah, it's Ruth here.
Hey, Ray.
Hi, thank you for that. It's just really fascinating to notice, for me, it's the deepening of and strengthening of that sensation. So where it initially, because I've already fairly accomplished and practiced at gratitude, I could feel it quite quickly. And yet that deepening is like an embodied savoring somehow. I don't have the words to really articulate it, but just fascinating. And as you said, how interesting to get that strengthening from a story, never mind thinking of what it will be like when it's our own. So yeah, you're sparking my curiosity. It's really beautiful. Thank you both.
That's a beautiful embodied savoring. I think that's exactly right. Rick Hansen uses the term taking in the good, and the piece from his research is around minimum of 30 seconds to really do that embodied savoring, kind of letting it soak into you like water into a sponge. And just we obviously did an extended process tonight. On your daily basis, you don't need to take this long. You have your story that you always use, so it's the same story each time. My story is not the story that I've just read out to you. My story is all the people who've helped me through our cancer journey in the last year and a half, who've looked after our children, who've sat with us, who've cried with us, who've prayed with us, who've loved us, who've laughed, made us laugh, kind of all that sort of thing. And for me, I within 30 seconds, a bit like you, kind of Ruth, who's experienced with gratitude, I don't even have to look at my points anymore because the story is so living it, and that kind of fires off my kind of strong feelings in my body, and just sitting with that kind of long enough, having done my breathing, that then I'm able to journal after that using the prompts. You don't have to do it every day. Obviously, we would suggest that you do it 100 days in a row. The latest research has shown that actually doing it maybe kind of 4 or 5 times a week, so that you kind of mix it up a little bit. I'm somebody who sorts for difference, so actually sometimes mixing in a different story can be nice, can add depth, I might look at my gratitude story from somebody else's perspective, from my children's perspective, or from my husband's perspective, or from a friend who's kind of helping us find a nanny, or kind of anything like that. So mixing it up can kind of be useful too, but generally keeping that same story enables us to kind of get in quicker to kind of that experience.
I'd add to that, take full advantage of if something happens in the day where you have felt gratitude spontaneously, then you can use that as part of your story. So when I saw that picture of the buggies on the platform, that really kind of hit me at an emotional level. Same with the cuddly toys on the bridge. I don't know if you saw that one. So if something happens, then use that, add that in, and just create those few sentences, bullet points around what it was that was meaningful, what was the struggle, what happened, how did you feel. We talk you all through that in the book in terms of the process of it. And if you want to use our stories, we've put 3 stories in the book for people who you know, might not be in a great place and be struggling to come up with their own at that point in time. So we've given them 3 options of stories in the book.
The original research that was done on storytelling was done using some videos from outfits around stories around people who have. So one of them, for example, was somebody who was kind of starving and kind of freezing cold. One of the other prisoners gave him his coat. You know, so it's kind of not a nice circumstance and not a nice situation, but the gratitude that research participants felt as a result of imagining themselves in that story, either as the person who received the coat or as the person who gifted the coat, was kind of massive, and yeah, kind of shifted the dial on all of those kind of measures that we talked about earlier. So you can find a story from a movie, you can find a story from a fairy tale if you wanted, you can find a story that is a friend's, you can borrow one from our book, you know, you can borrow one from wherever, or it could be just a regular, you know, story around, oh, I had a flat tire and a guy stopped to, you know, to help me change it. I had 2 kids screaming in the back of the car, and, you know, just kind of really feeling immense gratitude towards that person. So it doesn't have to be, you know, some, you know, story of rescuing somebody from a fire that's kind of super dramatic. It just has to be something that really resonates, and that's why we call it meaningful story, something that is meaningful to you.
Yeah, beautiful, something you feel.
Yeah.
So just before we kind of go, and we're not in a rush, so we will stay if there's any questions at the end, but we just wanted to say that the book has gone live and we are very excited. So it's now available on Amazon, and we'd love your support, you know, in terms of 5-star reviews. A very good mentor of ours used to say, you know, if it's a 3 or 4-star review, don't bother putting it up, because it actually creates a problem with sharing that. So only if it's a 5-star review. If you could purchase it this week for yourself, for friends, for clients, then we're hoping what that does is gets us up onto the bestseller list, not for our own egos, but so that this book gets out into a suggested, you know, other people who read this book also liked, so that it starts to get out there, because we believe the world needs this as a kind of healing tool at the moment. And we just love people to know that it existed and get it out. So if you could help us do that in any way, we'd be really grateful. Share it on your networks. Yeah, that would be our point for that. So 5-star reviews. Helen, you're going to jump in with how else?
I was just wondering whether you were planning to do a day when you dropped the price of the book and encouraged everybody to buy it on that specific day, so that you end up as, you know, high up on the bestseller list.
Yeah.
Are you planning to do that? And if so, when?
Yeah, so we are. We got our, so that's kind of my bet. We got our terminal diagnosis last week, so I've been kind of firefighting with that. So we will organise a promotion. It's not going to be this week, but kind of in the next few weeks we will do something like that. It will probably be mostly on the Kindle version rather than the physical version. Amazon takes a huge percentage of the cost, as you know, Helen, as an author of the actual book. The other thing we're doing is we're going to be on Ingram Spark very soon, which means that actually other bookshops and other places you'll be able to purchase it from. But yeah, at the moment, kind of from Amazon, that's kind of our choice. So yeah, so there will be, and it is kind of in the works, just not yet due to current circumstances.
Yeah, and I'd say, you know, old-fashioned, I still love books, and there's something about having it in your hand, being able to write in it, seeing all the beautiful images. So if you know you're going to buy the book, please do it this week, because that's what we're encouraging people to do, so that we get a flood of purchases this week. There'll be a Kindle version later that might be at a reduced cost. And what we're doing for the Kindle readers is, on a website, we're putting up some of the print off pages so that they can still print off and write, because neuro research says that is way more powerful than typing into a computer or just thinking it through. So we've tried to kind of make it a win-win, whichever way people come to the resource.
Okay, so just to clarify, the sensible thing to do is to buy the book now, buy the physical book now, and then when the time comes, buy the cheaper Kindle, because it'll be cheap, buy the Kindle version as well.
Very well said, Helen. We would never have suggested such an outrageous thing, but yeah, very well said.
Well, you know, I mean, it's not an outrageous thing, because what it does is it gets something that's really important for the world to know out there. So whatever any of us, well, I say us, me, and I suspect, knowing some of the people on here, others will do to actually help you on that journey.
Yeah, thank you. And it is about getting it out there. Obviously, we're proud of what we've achieved, but it is about getting this toolbox out to people who need it at the moment. We know mental health issues are going through the roof, and we believe this is going to be a help for people.
Just if you go to that luminostityproject.nz website, on there is a page there for the Ultimate Gratitude Journal. And on there you can find quite a lot of resources. So we have recorded all of the stories that are in the book, so because some people much prefer to have it kind of talked rather than to read it. We've recorded the balanced breathing process. There is a kind of PDF summary of the method, and there's also a printout for those of you who do buy that ebook that you can physically kind of write in. So I'm a big fan of ebooks, and I have a pen that I am able to kind of put. I've got a PDF reader on my I have an iPad, and I can write with my kind of electronic pen in there, and then I just save those kind of week by week, or copy the pages, so that then it becomes a kind of long journal. But I also like, physical ones, actually writing. So in the pages here, there's kind of space to write. As Suzanne mentioned, over these kind of days, it's really nice to write in a book as well. And there are things like, I'm just going to find another page here, some colouring pages as well, that actually it's pretty average on an ebook, whereas it's really nice on kind of in a physical book. So yes, we've done an ebook version, but we would definitely recommend the physical version for things like that.
Yeah, awesome. A couple of other prompts. If you are this end of the world and can do a 9:30 till 1 workshop, 21st of September, we're running a longer workshop on this, going even deeper into the science and more into the process. So if you want to know about that, we'll put the link of that in the chat box as well. And we're running a 100 Days of Gratitude challenge on Facebook. So go and stalk us on the Luminosity Project Facebook page, and we'll be doing that whether or not you've bought the book. Again, we just want to get that sense of gratitude out there, get people engaging with it and having some fun. So we'll be running that challenge soon.
I was going to say, as we come to an end, unless there's any more burning questions, there is a beautiful quote. There's a guy, I don't know if you've heard of him, called David Steindl-Rast, who has some amazing TED Talks on gratitude, and has written some beautiful books on gratitude. But his lovely quote that I'm going to share here, I'm just going to put it into the text as I do. He says, "Everything is a gift. The degree to which we are awake to this truth is a measure of our gratefulness, and gratefulness is a measure of our aliveness," which I would 100% agree and subscribe to. So I'm going to check in. Any more questions, thoughts, comments? Just being respectful of people's time. I know a few people had to catch a train. And
thank you so much for this. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Our pleasure.
Thanks, Crystal.
Thank you.
Yes, definitely. Well done. Looking forward to get my coffee.
Thank you.
Grateful for you both. Thank you.
very much.
Okay.